All right, welcome back to the channel. Julian Williams pays massive respect to Al Haymon, and the way that Al Haymon's approach to dealing with fighters has changed the sport of boxing. And we're going to talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And also thank you to everybody for your encouragement. Thank you to the people that watch the videos like this and watch the videos to the end. It is greatly, greatly appreciated. Also, thank you very much to the people with your encouragement through the Patreon, through the Twitter, through following on Twitter, and also the live streams that we do. And also, thank you very much for attending the live streams we do on Sunday and supporting that with it's called OG Boxing Talk with myself, Blood Boxing, Curtis Anderson, and KQKC Boxing. Let's talk about this, man, because Julian Williams, who is the 154-pound champion, who is a 154-pound champion, recently defeated Jared Hurd out of Philadelphia. Exciting young fighter, man. Very, very solid fighter and a very bright young man. Now, I've actually followed this guy. I follow him on Twitter. I've listened to a couple questions that he's asked to the general public, and I responded to a few. But I noticed that this kid is somebody, or young man, he's not a kid. This young man is somebody that really does have a good mind. He has an active mind. He's inquisitive, and I like him. I like the way that his mind works. So he gave a shout out to Al Haymon for being somebody that changed the game. And specifically what he said was that, what he pointed to was that since Al Haymon started getting fighters more money, that the other promoters have had to change their game to keep up. And so I thought, wow, you know what? That is very true. That they have begun to pay fighters more money because they have to compete for those fighters against the model that Al Haymon has. And if you recall, but I'm going to clarify something, that although the money is increased, in some instances, they use the same model. In other instances, they've paid more money, but it's still a very, very different setup than what Al Haymon did, at least what I can see from the outside looking in. All right. So if you recall, give you a little background on it. Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, also the promoter for Main Events, and maybe Oscar De La Hoya. I'm not sure. I don't know for sure if Oscar De La Hoya was on this bandwagon so solid. But what they would say is that Al Haymon was paying too much fees, paying these fighters too much money, that it wasn't going to last, that they're screwing up for, paying them out of money where the fights aren't profitable, all that kind of stuff, right? And it flowed into a lawsuit and all kind of other nonsense. But they used to blast him for paying fighters too much money, right? Now, though, if you look at who the most successful man in boxing is, if you are in any way objective, okay, it's Al Haymon. It's without a doubt Al Haymon. He's got the biggest, most successful network right now in boxing is Fox. That's almost exclusively PBC. Showtime, almost exclusively PBC. You have Fox that is getting more viewership and more push than ESPN is, or DAZN, which is essentially a cost center. DAZN is spending money. They're not making money. That is, you should look at DAZN as if it's just a pile of money, and somebody that is willing to continue to invest in boxing, and they are more doing like almost like a venture capital fund where they are providing the money because they're hoping that boxing can get them to a certain base subscription level. And so they are not looking for a direct return on investment right now out of their money, at least from what I can see, because they can't possibly be getting it. So it basically is, when I say it's a cost center, that's what I mean. Like that's what I mean. In a company, you have centers you have centers of your business that are revenue generating, and you have portions of your business that just cost you money. You have to spend the money, but they're cost centers. So, for example, in a regular organization, sales departments are revenue generating. You have salesmen that go out, they look for business, and they sell your auto parts. That sales department is in the business of bringing money in. The accountants that count the money once they come in, and the human resource people that make sure that people's checks get paid, and that there's water in the cooler, and that, people's bonuses get paid out. They're not generating revenue. You have to pay them money. So they're on the cost side. The other people, the revenue generating part, are on the revenue side, and the difference between the revenue side and the cost side is where you get your profit in business, right? That's where profit is. It's the difference between how much money you make, which is revenue, and how much money you spend, which is your cost center, like DAZN's boxing program. That is a cost center for DAZN, because they're not making their revenue back. The sales technically is revenue, but right now, because of the number of subscriptions they have, they're spending so much more money than they are pulling in revenue. Right now, that shit's costing that overall, that is costing that organization money. That's why I refer to it as a cost center. But looking at it in that light, looking at what Al Haymon has done, and you look at it from a business perspective, what Al Haymon has formed, from what I can see, is more like a cooperative corporation versus your traditional corporation, which is where you have an owner, and then the owner is really deciding what's going on with the business. That, aside from paying the money, the business paying the fighters money, that's where I see the real true innovation of the PBC being. And let me explain to you briefly because I know this is getting a little bit of a businessy technical video, but in a regular business, you go to work for your boss, right? And your boss tells you, I want you to do this, do that, do this today. And you say, okay, I will, right? Better yet, let me explain it this way, because I'm watching The Wire, and a lot of you guys watch The Wire. There was a conversation in the early part of The Wire where the kid who played Creed, Michael B. Jordan, I think his name is Michael B. Jordan, was a little kid in this, and they were sitting down there eating chicken McNuggets. And Michael B. Jordan's character said to the other guy that, man, whoever invented these chicken nuggets, man, he's got to be really, really, really rich, man. He's rich. And the person he was talking to said, nah, man, he ain't rich. He's sitting in the basement figuring out how to make French fries and chicken nuggets taste better, while the guy that runs the company is the one making the money. He's like, that's basically probably was true. You have workers that work for the owner, and the owner is the one that is really drawing the profit, and the worker is making a wage. That's a traditional American, capitalist corporate structure. What Al Haymon has at the PBC is a cooperative. In a cooperative, like they have in certain corporations in Germany, you have a certain number of employees who have a lot to say about the direction of the business, because they are as much as part of the business entity as the person that founded it is. So they're on the board of directors. So they're making a decision about the direction of the business. What kind of products do we want to offer? What kind of healthcare programs do we want to offer for our employees? And they're making sure that the workers are taken in consideration in the sharing of the profit and the direction of the company. That's what a cooperative is. And so what I see with the PBC, with them having their own self-promotional companies, having the owner really be an advisor to the fighter or a manager to the fighter that actually works for the fighter, instead of having these very, very, very slave-like contracts that traditional promoters have. You have an environment where they, like they say, and I've heard Tim Smith, who's the director of communications or vice president of communications for PBC, say this, that is a fighter's first organization. The other ones are not fighters first; they're promoter first. It's very much headed by Eddie Hearn or headed by Hall of Fame promoter Bob Arum. Now, they have adjusted because there's more money, a larger piece of the pie going to the fighter in the cooperative PBC model. They've now had to adjust and give more of their organizational money to the fighter, so that those fighters don't go over there to the cooperative and they stay in the traditional kind of, promoter fighter relationship. They pay them more money, but in only some instances, like Gennady Golovkin partnership, from what I can see of the Demetrius Andrade partnership, or definitely the Devin Haney partnership with Eddie Hearn, where they're like, I'm not going to sign with you. We'll do a co-promotional deal. The co-promotional deal, when you hear co-promotional deal over there, that's more cooperative. That's more similar to what goes on over there, at least from what I can see with Al Haymon and the PBC. So, anyway, I thought that was a great statement by J-Rock. Keep thinking, young man. Keep thinking. And very observant. I think, again, that it has more, they made them pay more money. But the real innovation in the PBC was the cooperative nature of the fighter advisor managerial relationship, more so than it is just the money, right? So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.